After months of planning, we were finally beginning our first ever mountain bikepacking trip.
It's 5:50 a.m. Ready to rock and roll.
4:50.
4:50. Jesus Christ.
We woke up early on August 4th. My friend Ryan was nice enough to drive us the 3 hours to the Colorado Segment 22 trailhead near Lake City, Colorado. Our bikes were set up, looking good, but also feeling super heavy. Now, normally my bike weighs about 32 pounds. With all the gear, food, water we needed for this first segment, we were at almost 60 pounds, so pretty heavy rigs that were set up. Our plan for the first day of the trip was to hit CT 22 and 23, which would be just about 31 miles of riding. We were anticipating nearly 7,000 feet of elevation gain during our ride. All the while, our average elevation would be nearly 12,000 feet, which led to some concern about weather if it were to roll in.
Look at that. It's pretty sketchy right now. Several storms. That one's coming by.
Let's find a decent spot to hang out for a bit. The trail's going that way. It looks like, I mean, there's a little rock.
It goes up, right?
Okay, that was close.
Right in here. I think it's
Either there or we go down the hill. Really no good options. We're gonna hide from the storm for a bit.
Unfortunately, based on where we were at about 12,300 feet, there weren't many places to hide. We eventually found this cliff overlook area and a rock that we could hide underneath for a while. I had a leftover burrito and I decided it was a great time to eat that while we waited out the storm for about 15 minutes. And eventually we walked to the edge of the other side of the cliff to see what the forecast was looking like for our future.
See what the forecast looks like.
While the weather didn't completely clear up, we had a window to continue our trip onward and upward. This part of the trail had to be some of the toughest single track I've ever seen. It would have been tough to hike up these trails, let alone push our super heavy, fully loaded bikes up them.
Come on, you fat bastard.
As we climbed, the elevation quickly exceeded 13,000 feet, and it also became very tough to breathe. After the first climb, we got a descent that had some amazing views, gave us some great perspective of the area, and helped us make up some ground. The trail continued like this for most of the morning, undulating up and down on rocky and exposed sections as we approached Coney Summit. That was the high point of the Colorado Trail at 13,200 feet. As we got to the summit, obviously thrilled to be at the high point finally. Also, as you can see, there's a huge storm right in front of us. So we did not hang out long and quickly proceeded to descend the end of segment 22.
Yes, good, bro.
This was a super long descent, mostly on single track with super awesome views, Eventually we did join up with some double track, very quick descent as we rapidly approached the beginning of segment 23. To this point in the trail, we had carried all of our water with us and had not done any refills. So we were looking forward to grabbing some water on segment 23. Whoa, just slipped there a little bit. There were a few spots like this where the trail was a little loose. Nothing too bad happened, but I did slide out. In either case, stopped, filled up water really quick, and we were back on the road.
He's off to a strong start. He hits a rock. Oh, a little hiccup, but no problem. He recaptures himself, keeping it in the trail. Swerving from side to side. This is the real challenge coming up here. Is he gonna waste all his, oh, and he's off. He's off the bike, folks. We have a record to beat.
Unfortunately, segment 23 did begin with a lot of sections that we thought were bikeable, but ended up being more hikeable. After a super long, steady climb, we did get to the top and eventually got to descend the first part of CT23. Super expansive and green. It started raining again at this point, and sort of felt like a different country. Really hadn't seen anything quite like this in Colorado as far as how green everything was, how exposed everything was. Just a very unique overall experience.
Got some hero dirt here, baby.
At this point, we were about 5 to 7 miles into CT23 and just approached Cataract Lake. Number of people that were camped around this lake. We were super tired and very jealous of the individuals that were camping, but we did need to continue onward.
Back to the bush.
This had to be one of the most beautiful sections of Colorado that I had ever seen. But at this point, we had also been pushing our bikes, riding our bikes for over 8 hours. We were wet, we were exhausted, and all this time we had been at an elevation of above 12,000 feet. We were starting to think about camp. We knew we weren't going to hit our distance goal of 31 miles for the day. So, looking ahead, we were thinking maybe this valley would be a good spot. Well, it was raining all around us. Unfortunately, there wasn't an active stream or source of water that we could access, so we decided to push on a little bit farther, had another descent to go through, another little climb, before we could eventually actually set up camp. Finally, we came to this amazing overlook. You could see about 15 different waterfalls in this pano, and we knew we were going to camp in this area. It was also almost 7 o'clock, super exhausted, ready for bed. As soon as we found a level spot, we pretty much set up and immediately crashed. We were happy with how our bikes held up for the day, but also super exhausted, so went to bed so we could get an early start in the morning to kick off the rest of CT23, 24, and 25.